Hello, my name is Zach Kazan. I'm the managing editor at Worn and Wound, and I'm joined today by Blake Malin, CEO and co-founder of Worn and Wound. Blake, how's it going?
Pretty good.
It's great to have you here. We're going to talk today about a watch that both of us were kind of drawn to at last year's Windup Watch Fair in New York City. I remember very clearly you found me in the crowd in the New York City Windup and said, "You got to see this. Come to this booth. I want to show you this watch." It's the Tusenö Supervintage watch. This is a kind of like modern reinterpretation of kind of like a classic cocktail watch or classic dress watch. It's out now, available for pre-order now as you're seeing this. Kind of been in the works for a while. Tell me a little bit about why you were so drawn to this watch immediately.
Yeah. Well, I think it was partially that I was drawn to it and also that I felt like it was a Zach Kazan watch.
Yeah, you were right. Yeah.
I was very excited to, like a dog that found the perfect bone.
Yes.
I was very excited to show you. No, I mean, I think that we're in this interesting period where you're seeing a lot of these like interesting kind of avant-garde case shapes and the return to dress watches for a lot of these like smaller independent brands. You know, we've been talking about this. And this one just like really stood out to me for its like proportions, its use of color. It feels kind of like fun and not too terribly serious while also being like a fairly sophisticated dress watch. And then I think the more you look at it and the more you kind of play with it, like the flow of the case and some of the ways that they've sort of like made it fit on your wrist. Like it's just, there's a lot of, it feels very thoughtful and it feels like a lot of like time and energy went into the details, and coming from a smaller independent brand and at the price point that it's at, like it just really stood out to me.
Yeah, this watch is under $1,000. I think like the case is really sort of like the secret weapon of the watch. I think you're probably immediately most people will be drawn to the dial. The dials are very colorful. They call this the Negroni. It's sort of like red tone. Obviously, the Negroni is an important cocktail in the watch community. Everyone loves the Negroni.
Don't ever forget it.
Yeah, but the case is really interesting. It has like every surface is curved. It doesn't have like a flat side to it, so it's very ergonomic. It wears very well. They list it at 34.5 millimeters. It's pretty thin. It's under 10 millimeters tall easily. It's, I think, like a smaller than average watch. Certainly, you know, not like it's a dress watch. You know, you and I both have larger wrists. How do you feel wearing a watch like this? Does it feel diminutive to you, or does it feel appropriate?
I think it just takes a little bit of getting used to. Like, you know, I'm wearing a watch. I often wear my Speedmaster, or I had a Paradive on earlier today, and like compared to those watches, it certainly feels very different. You know, when you have this on your wrist, it feels like nothing to me, at least. And I think that on paper, a 34 millimeter watch is far too small for my personal taste, and I think people would say it looks a little silly on my wrist. But because of the like length of this, the lug-to-lug length of this, like it wears, in my opinion, much larger, and even just like sort of the bulbous shape of the case, and just there's a lot that makes it feel a lot bigger than a 34 millimeter watch in a good way. Like it feels more substantial.
Yep.
To me. Yeah, so it feels very light and sort of almost like you don't have anything on your wrist. And one thing that's really nice about it is you get that kind of, again, a little bit larger wrist presence, probably closer to the equivalent of like a 36, 37, 38. But when you flex your wrist, like you never feel the case. Right. So yeah, it's very easy to wear.
Something else I wanted to touch on is something you brought up in the very beginning, is this sort of trend towards these like interesting dress watches from brands that specifically are kind of known for their sports watches. I think of like Serica comes to mind, Echo Neutra with the Rivanera. What do you think the significance of that is, and why do you think brands are kind of expanding their range like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly kind of a curious decision to me. I mean, I'm very happy about it because I think it's just a genre of watches that probably is a little bit underserviced. You know, it's definitely like a niche within a niche, but I think it's really exciting because you can get really playful. There aren't quite as many rules as evidenced by this watch and some of the other stuff that's coming out. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited by it. And to be perfectly honest, like I couldn't tell you that I have like some tremendous insight into like what that trend is all about.
Yeah, I just think it's like, I agree with what you said about it. It gives brands kind of license to be playful and experiment. Like with the Super Vintage, they've gotten like into interesting color combinations, and they've, you know, really played with like the numerals and the proportions, and they've done interesting things with the cases. So it's an opportunity, I think, for some of these brands to experiment and have fun in a different genre than they normally would, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think like we talk about this a lot. I feel like we've talked a lot about in podcasts and videos, and also just like in the office. this sort of a watch of this sort of caliber with this level of creativity and sort of custom case and dial and all that kind of stuff is so light years ahead of what small independent micro brands were making 5, 10, 15 years ago. It's like, it's really honestly incredible that brands are able to do this. So yeah, just super exciting.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this watch. I appreciate you pointing it out to me last year. At Windup, I've been kind of like anxiously anticipating the release, which is now here, and we'll have more on the Super Vintage on our website, so we'll leave a link to that in the description. And thanks so much for joining us today on the Worn and Wound channel. If you like what you've seen, definitely like and subscribe for lots more great content. And thank you, Blake, for joining me today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.